Hello, welcome to Flutterbug Auto. Today I'm talking about the Wiiware game Excitebike World Rally, the third and final Excite series game on the Wii, and also the last Excite series game in general, as long as we're not counting 3D Classics Excitebike, and we're not. This game was made by the same developer as Excite Truck and Excitebots, and exists as both a modern update to the NES original, as well as a way to just sort of tie all the Excite games together more cohesively, considering the previous two games were quite the departure, to say the least. Also, like, as overlooked as Excite Truck and Bots are, this game may as well not even exist by comparison. If you made an Excite series iceberg, this game would be right at the bottom, next to the weird Mario-themed Satellaview Excitebike. Like, I only found this game because I was looking into the developer of Excite Truck and Excitebots. It's that obscure. Despite the prevalence of the Wii, I feel like WiiWare games are all a bit obscure in general, outside of a few standouts like World of Goo and things like that. So I do have plans to cover some other WiiWare racing games in the future as well. But anyway, back to the topic of this video, Excitebike World Rally. This game retains a lot of the visual design language of the two prior games, like the graphics for the turbo meter, the menu designs, and the structure of the game with bronze, silver, gold, etc. cups, and every track taking place in a specific real-world location. The power-ups that change the topography of the track are still here, and even the graphics for the ranking system and the names of the colors you can pick from are still here. The only things really missing are the crash boosts and the star system. This game goes back to original Excitebike style, and you get penalized for crashing by coming to a complete stop and having to manage out of it. And ranks are awarded only for fast times, which is a bit of a bummer since I really liked the score attack aspect of the previous games. And in terms of being an iteration on the original NES game, I think this game nails it. It's way better in terms of gameplay. All the new little features and the addition of many more stages go a long way to make this game much more fun to play and much more entertaining. Like, don't get me wrong, I always like playing the original Excitebike, but this game just improves like everything. Like, firstly, I think the motion controls really suit this game. It feels really natural to tilt the bike by tilting the Wii remote. Way more natural than the D-pad controls of the NES game feel. Honestly, I wish it was entirely motion controlled. I caught myself often trying to tilt the Wii remote up and down to move between lanes, but you gotta use the D-pad for that. But otherwise, it feels extremely satisfying, tilting to line up with slopes for super smooth landings. I think the most satisfying part in the game is whenever there's multiple big jumps in a row, and you can line it up to land on each one in quick succession. It's very, very good. Big fan of that one. I also really like tilting to do wheelies, and the fact that you can wheelie over other bikers. You can also knock out other bikers by landing on top of them and bouncing off Mario style, and that speaks for itself, doesn't it? I don't even need to tell you how good that is. That's exactly the kind of wacky mechanic I'd expect from these devs. Also, replacing the turbo jumps is wheelie jumps. If you wheelie right before a jump, you get an extra boost, and it's a lot of fun to pull off. You get a lot of big airtime in this game, which is right in line with Excite Truck and Excitebots, I think. Those games are all about airtime, so is this one now. The bikes themselves are very cute and chunky, and is it just me, or does your biker kind of look like a robot? Much to think about. In terms of graphics, I'd say this game is about the same as Excitebots, maybe a bit less detailed, due both to this being a small WiiWare game, and also due to the camera angle allowing less view of your surroundings. But the graphics are definitely still cute and nice to look at. Also importantly, the game includes a level editor, since a classic Excitebike game wouldn't be complete without it. I'm very pleased that the terrain morph power-ups are available to place in the editor too. There's not a whole lot to say about it, but I'm glad it's here. The game also allows you to send your tracks to your Wii friends. Through the Wii Link service, the Wii Friends functionality has been brought back, so while I haven't tested it and can't confirm, it should be possible to send tracks to friends again. Despite this game being longer than the original NES game, it's still a pretty short game. Certainly shorter than Excite Truck and Excitebots, and it doesn't have all the side modes as heavy either, but it's a really charming little game, and I think that's all it needs to be. WiiWare games had specific size constraints, so none of them were very big anyway. There's still plenty of replayability in trying to get all the best ranks and everything. I'm like, just because a game is short doesn't mean it isn't fun and worth playing, you know? Like I always say, I think having I wish there was more as a complaint is actually a big compliment. So yeah, that's Excitebike World Rally. If this was gonna be the last Excitebike game ever, I think they went on a high note, and that's the best you can hope for when something comes to an end, don't you think? If they never return to this series, at least the last 3 games were super solid entries, and this one was a super solid upgrade to the original game. I'm obviously much more of a car gal, and I don't tend to be very interested in motorbikes, And I also like to focus on car games for this channel, but I do really like Excitebike quite a lot, so I'm happy to make an exception for it and talk about this game, especially since I can help it get some more attention it deserves. And also, I've started playing Excitebike 64 recently. I've been pleasantly surprised by it. At first, I thought it looked like kind of a generic, realistic motocross game, but it's actually really charming and grew on me fast. I'll probably have a video about that on soon too. As always, I've got plenty of racing content coming up in the near future. See you soon!